For thousands of years, human beings have looked up at the night sky and asked the same question: are we alone? But what if that question has already been answered, not by science, but by the oldest written records on Earth? Across Sumer, Egypt, the Americas, and beyond, ancient peoples carved the same story into stone. Beings who came from the sky, beings who were worshipped as gods, and beings who, according to the texts themselves, may have created the human race. Tonight, we go back to the very beginning to find out whether ancient astronauts didn't just visit Earth once, but returned again and again for millions of years. This is the evidence they left behind. New York City, 1976. After 3 decades spent studying Sumerian cuneiform, a researcher named Zecharia Sitchin publishes a book that will divide historians for the next 50 years. His claim was staggering. The gods worshipped by the Sumerians, history's very first civilization, were not myths at all. According to his translations, they were flesh and blood beings from a distant world, a planet he believed shared our own solar system, one struggling to survive a dying atmosphere. Researchers who study his work say the story he uncovered wasn't about worship at all. It was about survival and about gold. The theory goes that these visitors needed vast quantities of gold to repair their failing atmosphere, and Earth had exactly what they were looking for. At first, they mined it themselves, but the labor proved brutal, exhausting, and endless. So, according to the ancient astronaut theory, they turned to genetics, engineering a new worker to do the digging for them. A worker built in their own image. That worker, some researchers argue, was us. It's a theory mainstream historians overwhelmingly reject, but to understand why it refuses to disappear, we have to go to the source, the actual tablets this story was translated from. Northern Iraq, along the banks of the Tigris River, sits the buried ruin of one of the ancient world's greatest cities, Nineveh. In 1849, a British excavation team uncovered something extraordinary beneath the ruins, a royal archive containing tens of thousands of clay tablets inscribed in wedge-shaped cuneiform script. Some of these tablets date back nearly 5,000 years, making them among the oldest written records human beings have ever produced. Among them was a text known as the Enuma Elish, Babylon's account of how the world and mankind came into being. It describes a powerful god shaping the first human out of clay and blood, a story researchers point out bears an unmistakable resemblance to the creation of Adam in the Bible, written more than 1,000 years later. Sumerian carvings from this era show figures wearing winged discs and star-marked pendants, imagery some researchers interpret as evidence of flight and even of technology tracking time and the heavens. To mainstream scholars, this is simply the birth of mythology, humanity's earliest attempt to explain the unexplainable. But to ancient astronaut theorists, these aren't metaphors, they're eyewitness reports. Here's where the story gets stranger. The Sumerians were far from the only culture with a tale like this. Sacred Islamic texts describe language itself as a divine gift handed down from above. The Maya creation account, the Popol Vuh, tells a nearly identical story, that speech and knowledge came directly from the gods. Egyptian texts describe the same gift, credited to the god Thoth, the keeper of sacred knowledge. Different continents, different centuries, different languages entirely, Yet somehow, the same core story keeps resurfacing, that knowledge itself was handed to early humans by beings who came from somewhere else. And nowhere is that pattern more visible than in the earliest form of human communication we have, symbols carved directly into rock. In the American Southwest, petroglyphs tens of thousands of years old show figures crowned with radiating light descending from the sky. Local tribes have their own name for them, beings who arrived in flying vessels carrying knowledge from another world. The same imagery turns up in Italy, in Brazil, in Asia, separated by oceans and by thousands of years, and yet unmistakably telling variations of the same story. Southwestern France, the Lascaux caves, discovered by accident in 1940 and home to some of the oldest paintings ever created by human hands, dating back more than 17,000 years. Deep inside, among galloping horses and bulls, is a single strange figure, a creature with a man's body and a bird's head. Anthropologists call this kind of image a therianthrope. Mainstream researchers believe these images came from shamans in deep trance states, painting the visions they experienced on the cave walls. But ancient astronaut theorists point to something harder to dismiss. The same bird-headed figure appears again thousands of years later as one of Egypt's most important gods. Is it possible that in trance and dream states, humans across vastly different eras were encountering and remembering the exact same beings? Return to the Nineveh tablets, and a specific passage stands out, one describing the moment these sky beings decided their workers needed an upgrade. The text describes taking traits from an early hominid and deliberately combining them with something far more advanced. Language, some researchers argue, reads almost like a genetics manual, thousands of years before genetics existed as a science. Ancient astronaut theorists argue this explains one of the biggest unanswered questions in human evolution: the sudden, unexplained leap in intelligence, tool use, and abstract thought that appears in the archaeological record around 40,000 years ago. One day, the evidence shows simple tools. Then, almost overnight in evolutionary terms, complex art, ritual, and symbolic thinking. Mainstream science attributes this shift to a natural cognitive revolution. Ancient astronaut theorists ask a different question: what or who might have pushed that revolution forward? West Africa, Sierra Leone. Local legend here tells of small stone deities called the Nomoli, said to have fallen from the sky in ancient times. And alongside these figures, villagers have long found unusual blue stones, believed, according to local tradition, to be fragments of the sky itself, which turned to stone and fell alongside the gods. Modern laboratories have struggled to explain them. Sent to more than a dozen research facilities, the stones have produced no scientific consensus, no clear proof they're either natural minerals or man-made material. Some collectors have floated a provocative theory that these fragments could be remnants of a protective shell, not unlike the heat-resistant tiles that shield a spacecraft during re-entry. It's a theory without proof, but it's also a mystery that decades later still hasn't been fully solved. The northern Southwest is home to one of the oldest continuously inhabited tribal communities in North America, the Zuni, whose roots here stretch back nearly 2,000 years. Much of their oral history remains closely guarded, shared only within the tribe. but some elders have begun opening up about a body of knowledge tied directly to the stars. Among their rock carvings are figures with rounded, dome-like heads and strange, flared features, imagery Zuni tradition doesn't describe as decoration, but as portraits. In Zuni belief, these are the sky people, protectors and teachers from what they describe as the upper world, embedded not just in rock art, but in prayer, chant, and ritual, still practiced today. To outsiders, it's easy to dismiss this as symbolism, but to the people who carved it, and to their descendants who still sing about it, the sky was never just a metaphor. Northern Italy, Val Camonica, a UNESCO World Heritage Site containing tens of thousands of ancient rock engravings, some dating back over 10,000 years. Among the carvings is a figure researchers have nicknamed the spaceman, a humanoid form wearing what appears to be a rounded helmet surrounded by a faint halo-like outline. Nearby is another puzzling image archaeologists call the Camunian rose, a spiraling flower-like shape whose true meaning has never been agreed upon. Some researchers believe it may represent a vessel, spinning, radiant, descending from the sky exactly where the helmeted figures are carved. It echoes a local legend about the founding of the nearby city of Turin, a story of a sky-born figure who fell from the heavens in a blazing chariot and brought new skills and knowledge to the people below. Mythology or memory? Researchers who study these carvings argue it's exactly the kind of story an eyewitness might tell after watching something come down from the sky they had no words to describe.
Mali, West Africa. High along a remote sandstone escarpment live the Dogon people, whose ancestors are believed to have settled here roughly 1,000 years ago. Dogon tradition holds that a sky god named Amma created life on Earth, and that sacred knowledge was passed down by a being called Nomo, who is said to have descended from the heavens in a fiery spinning vessel. To this day, the Dogon hold festivals honoring that arrival, ceremonies passed down through generations through carved masks and ritual dance. In the 1920s, French researchers were invited deep into Dogon territory and given access to closely guarded tribal knowledge. What they recorded stunned the scientific world. According to Dogon tradition, their god Amma originated from a star in the Sirius system, specifically a small, incredibly dense companion star invisible to the naked eye. Modern astronomers call that star Sirius B. It's so faint and so distant that it wasn't photographed by science until the 1970s, decades after the Dogon had already described its existence and its orbit in precise detail. Later observation, including data from the Hubble Space Telescope, confirmed the Dogon description was strikingly accurate. A dense, burnt-out star, smaller than Earth, yet many times heavier than our Sun. No telescope, no modern astronomy, and yet somehow an ancient culture appears to have known what belonged in that patch of sky centuries before we did. A dying atmosphere, a desperate search for gold, a worker species built in the image of its makers, sky beings remembered on nearly every continent on Earth. None of these accounts on their own proves that aliens walked among us, but taken together, a pattern begins to emerge, one that spans oceans, spans millennia, and refuses to stay buried. Maybe it's coincidence. Maybe it's the way isolated cultures independently invent similar myths to explain what they don't understand. Or maybe, just maybe, our ancestors were telling us the truth the entire time, and we're only now starting to listen. So here's the question I want to leave you with. Do you think ancient civilizations really encountered something or someone from beyond our world? Drop your theory in the comments below. I read every single one, and some of the best evidence in this series has come directly from viewers like you. If this episode opened your mind even a little, hit subscribe, because we've barely scratched the surface of what ancient civilizations left behind. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one, because the truth may be out there, but the evidence has been right beneath our feet all along.